Hey there, and welcome to the TechHub.training solution video for the Excel Hello World challenge. If you remember in this challenge, your goal was to take all these entries from users who were voting on different names for this website and put all those votes, 540 of them, into this matrix. In order to do that, first we're going to need to separate out the username, website name, and score given from all of these entry results printed out by the program. So you can use different text formulas on this if you want. There's left, there's mid, there's find, but I like using a simple formula called text split. It's easy if you're going to just be doing the analysis one time. We're going to split this by spaces, effectively getting each word in this sentence. We're going to drag that all the way down for all of these. And as you see, that gives us all the data that we need already split. We're going to go ahead and highlight that all, copy it, and then we're going to paste this as values. That gets rid of those array formulas and allows us to separate out the data we need. We need this website name here, and we need this number here, the score given. We can delete the rest of this. And if you highlight all these numbers in score given, they have this error. They're stored as text. So let's highlight them all, and we're going to convert these to a number. So now we need to find each user's user ID and each name's name ID. We're going to use an XLOOKUP. We're going to look up this value. We're going to go to user data, and we're going to look it up in this list of usernames. I'm going to make that an absolute reference so that when we drag it down, it doesn't change. And we're going to do the same for the output that we want, which is user ID. Go ahead and drop that down. We're going to do the same thing for name here. We're going to do XLOOKUP. We're going to look for the name Systems Crunch in names data, this list of names, make that absolute, and we're going to return the ID, make that absolute. Go ahead and drop that down. And now we want a concatenated ID that will be a unique identifier for each entry that will tell us simultaneously the user's ID and the name ID of the name they rated. So we're going to use the concat function. I'm going to put that, I like to put an underscore just to make it look cleaner, and the name, and there you have it. There's a concatenated ID. Drop that down. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to paste them as values. You don't always want to do this in data analytics, but for our circumstances, I think it's safer if we have these as values so that if we sort, things won't get messed up. That's all we have to do on this tab. We're going to go over to user data, and we're going to sum up for each user the total number of active seconds that they spent filling out those surveys. So we're going to use a sum if, and we're going to go over to voting data, and we're going to, you can use either the person's name or the person's ID. Let's go ahead and use the person's ID here, make that absolute, and the criteria. What do we want the ID to be? Well, we want it to be this ID, and we do want it to change, so I'm not going to make it absolute. And then we're going to sum together the number of seconds that they took, make that absolute. Spencer took 1,600 seconds to finish all the surveys. Drag that down, and again here we're going to paste in the values of this. Let me show you what would happen if we went to sort this, but we hadn't hard-coded these values here. Let's say we sort it by username. If we saw that Spencer had 1,600, well, that changes. And why does it change? Because it's still referencing this number up here. So that's why we're going to want to highlight these, copy them. We're going to want to hard code these values in there. And now we want to sort descending so that we have the people who took the most time and thought the most about these names to be on top. Going over to name data, really simply, we're just going to want to sort these on the basis of their names. So the name ID of 1 is first. That should get us to our name matrix where we're going to want to come together here and put in all this data for each user rating each name. That's going to have all 540 entries in this matrix. I'm going to do an XLOOKUP function. And we're going to look up that same unique identifier that we made earlier. So let's go ahead and recreate that. Concatenate that. Get in our underscore. and concatenate that. Now, here we're going to be dragging this formula across and down. We're going to want to make sure that as we drag across, these columns can change, but not these rows, and that dragging down, these rows can change, but not these columns. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make that row absolute and make that column absolute. That way when we drag across in the matrix, the data will come in nicely. So we're going to look up this unique identifier in this list of unique identifiers that we made. Get rid of that. And we're going to hard code that in. And then what do we want to return? Well, we want to return the score given and hard code that. So user E5K gave a score of 22 to the first name. We're going to drag all those across and down. Now remember, the purpose of this matrix, now that we have all the numbers in, is to be able to identify hotspots, different names, the different users rated very highly. If you see here, seems that there's a line here of very high scores, but rather than going through and noticing high scores here, low scores here, we're going to just highlight it all. We're going to let Excel do the work for us using conditional formatting. Hopefully this will help us highlight some patterns in the data and tell us the name that we think is going to end up being the winning name. Go to color scales. You can pick any one, but I really like green. So I'm going to click that, and there you have it. The name that I think most of the users, without even knowing it, have voted on is the name TechHub. So I think that's the name we're going to have to go with for our site. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for the next challenge.